That's like this.
Sorry, should I have Zoom link specifically?
Mary's doing it too.
She's zooming in as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
Mary's doing it as well, so.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, which is fine, but, so
The link should be,
it's the same link as in our invite.
Yeah, I don't have it on this one, it's mine, top one.
Right, let me see if I can.
oh, sorry,
I am. Sister-in-law's.
So.
I never zoomed in.
it's on here, so let's see.
You
What's
just.
the actual agenda?
You're the financing.
Oh, it says waiting for host to start. Okay, great. Perfect. Sorry. So we will start at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
This is. Yes. We're not, so I'll be sure that we should be. So there was kind of times was not stolen. Shows us, and I think everybody does. Yeah, just because of how this works out, we don't do it for us.
So we're not muted, so he can hear. Okay. Be sure to get him in.
I just, when I walked Hatch this morning, I was on something that but it's too late for me, I had to get to class.
So this is small. That's from all regardless, so for the dollars, we're just like, please. This helps us to using our book.
Make sure you say that.
Actually, this is just, I said, I think, it's time where we were, like, you were in favor of it all. It's just how it passes to. This is a, you guys, or the attorneys. Was for somebody I had this stuff, so I actually going back to why, what you do.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's just, I don't think I've ever done that. It would be time, I would appreciate you get it for. You just want to do it, there's obviously, you know, different.
Back to the traffic plan.
Yes.
So in order for the state of the think that the one ways are making false watch.
So I don't know, I gotta get a percent of that, or a week, I did it afterwards. I gotta change that.
Good.
But ready for the weekend? Yeah. Where do you guys?
Yeah, I ain't going anywhere.
That I'm on, so.
Just waiting for the agenda.
Some of these, you know, like, what are you going to? Well,
Yes.
this is one week, the one, this one with all the traffic.
But we have to have, you know,
Absolutely,
It's the one with, I don't know.
I don't even wanna go down to Idaho Springs.
And on the front row.
I should. Traffic is.
No, we can't.
I think I was telling,
Went
went back about,
I'm always,
I'll have
a
little bit of a longer drive.
So many years I would get stuck in there
we have,
when I worked down in Montbello and,
yeah, they're not, yeah.
I didn't have to worry about this.
I'm sure. No, Jerry was going.
Jerry's gonna be here, Mary's zooming in, we've got, Alex zooming in, I think Jerry was coming in, I don't think he's zooming in. Oh, we have two other agenda items we're gonna do real quick before we get to you guys. And then I'm just waiting for the agenda to come upstairs and then we'll start the meeting. But thank you all for being here, I'm glad you're here. Right? So where did you all come from, Denver?
It's not bad. Yeah, I did it. Like.
How was the traffic?
Well, I got up super early. I didn't got like, we're trying to maybe out there to Paris and drove everyone else.
Okay.
I got here. Asphalt thing.
So that's kind of nice. Yeah.
There's a nice money for that too.
Yeah.
Did you come far? Where do you live? Oh, so you come the other way. Yeah, you didn't hit it going back.
I already saw it, what's building up people.
Right.
Unfortunately.
I know.
Running the show.
Thank you.
Hey, Jerry.
Get
up. Sure, thank you very much. Just the article that you said. Gary, I don't know if you saw it, but I fixed that. The producer buyer. I think that'll affect title too. Alex actually. I can keep it. Oh, yeah.
Alex is online.
I didn't see any other.
These are extra.
I thought
Yeah,
we
I
did
got
that
it.
before.
We've got my email,
Yeah,
obviously.
but if we need to, I've got it right there, and I
Yeah.
get it, and I got it printed.
Yeah, I expect we can, good thing, because we'll probably need to work through a little bit, but I think we're close.
So we're we doing this first, this grant application? Before we get into the prop one,
You're running that, you can do whatever you want.
but I don't even see it on there.
Like, you can add it in.
So can we add it to this special meeting?
Yep,
It's been noticed,
you don't have to notice that.
because it's just an approval of what we already approved.
Wait, is that Prop 123 or something?
No.
The resolution for
This is the resolution for the grant, so all I have to do is sign it.
No, I just have to say, we're gonna add this to the agenda,
Okay,
and then everybody says, yes, we will add this to the agenda today.
right?
And then I was just gonna do it at the end, I thought it'd be best to get the Prop 123 stuff out of the way first.
Okay, we can do that. We can also do this real quick while we have Amanda here. if we
It's
want.
fine,
It doesn't
honestly,
matter.
I'm
Okay.
not concerned about those things, so.
Okay, that sounds good. So we will call this meeting to order. This is a special meeting of the Board of Selectmen. It is Friday, August 29th, and it is 10:04 AM. I will do a roll call. Mary Smith, is she online?
You have to promote them to panelists, that's one of the things that happens, yeah.
Are they promoted? Okay, so Mary, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Rep, I can hear you.
Okay,
Alex
cool.
Sassoon? I know Alex is out there.
He's there, there's two guests, there's also which one is him.
Okay. Here, okay, he just texted me that he's here. Okay, Rich Barrows,
Here.
Rob,
Here.
Colonel, Dwayne Kaczynski,
Here.
Amanda Cooper.
Here.
Okay, thank you very much. We have in front of us the consideration of Proposition 123 land banking application. The Centennial Opportunity Fund.
George, really fast, if you're gonna add that onto the agenda, you need to do that now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Okay, and we are going to add to the end of the agenda, the final approval of resolution number 11, which is for the town of Georgetown to support the Colorado Tourism Office Marketing Grant application. Do I have a move to add this?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Mary, okay, thank you. So we will add this to the end of our meeting today. All right, now we are going to consider the land banking application with Centennial Opportunity Fund and documents associated therewith. In addition, we have a purchase and sale agreement and a ground lease. So, Dennis, for item number 2 on the agenda, what does that consist of? 3 is the purchase and sale agreement, and then 4 is the, oh,
My suggestion is consider numbers 2, 3, and 4 together, really. Or at least have a discussion on them.
2 and 3 then maybe. I don't see the ground lease on here. But anyway, so they're all
Yeah,
together.
there's a ground lease.
Yes.
Do I have the wrong one?
Number 3 is purchase.
And ground lease for such property.
Purchase
Oh,
and
I'm
sale
sorry.
ground lease.
Okay, very good.
So consider items 2 and 3 together.
2 and 3 together,
Yeah,
very
4
good.
is the litigation.
Okay,
Obviously,
sorry. Apologies for the confusion, I didn't see it.
They're together.
Okay, very good. So the discussion on the necessary documents, did you want to start that, or should we just start with comments, or Jerry?
Sure, just a couple of notes, from during your Tuesday meeting, while you had, I think, a pretty good discussion about the grant or the application itself, the loan application, that's number 2. There was not in your packet the purchase and sale agreement, the ground lease. that is part of that whole package, and we know that this is the property underneath phase two in the Lakewood Flats development, and you had wanted to see and understand that, the purchase sale agreement with ground lease, those are in your packet, we got those from Dennis and me a couple of days ago. I did get an email from Selectman Smith last evening and responded to her. She had raised a number of questions that we can go over, or maybe the probably easier thing is to have the applicant go over the not only the purchase sale agreement, but the ground lease, and as they're doing that, kind of pick up on the questions Mary had asked. I responded by email to her and to Max last night. A number of things where we're correcting errors, adding the town's PO box, things like that, but there were a couple of more substantive questions. And I know that Max and company are probably ready to tell you about that, so it might be good if we heard from them, just sort of generally about the purchase and sale and the ground lease back, because that transaction is the main game here, so. I invite you to hear from the applicant.
Very good, thank you.
Sure, and I'm happy to go from here, and if there's any questions at any time, feel free to interact. So we provided you with the purchase and sale agreement for lot 6, 7, 8, 6, 8, and 9, block 2, plus a ground lease. I want to be clear that the ground lease form is what's being approved here today. We're not actually entering into a ground lease until there's a closing. So I know on an email that I saw last night, there were some questions about some blank spaces in the ground lease. Those spaces need to be filled in once we have the date of closing and the land bank application complete. So, but the form, what we want to do is have the form set today, so that if this is agreed to, when we're ready to go forward with the ground lease, all we're doing is filling in that space.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then, so there are a couple, I think, minor issues that, one of the selectmen brought up. Those have been fixed, purchaser buyer, and I think Dennis put the PO box in. So those issues have been taken care of. With respect to the purchase and sale agreement, the way that I have set this up, and I did go through it with Mr. Dahl, and we added some town language to it, like indemnity language. And I forgot the allocation language for the pricing.
And non-appropriation.
Appropriation language, we've added that, but I guess in general, the way that this purchase and sale agreement is set up is it's $2.5 million for the city to buy these lots, 6, 8, and 9. The only way that the city buys this property is if it gets past its title review. So we will get a title commitment that the city will be able to review. It's okay with the title review. It reviews the land bank documents, which will be the grant form and the covenant that will be recorded on the property that will restrict the property according to the land bank requirements for low income housing, and the town receiving $2.5 million from Chapel. If all of those contingencies are met, then the town goes through, and whoever's familiar with real estate settlement sheets, the way that this one will look is the town will have 0 in its column. The town should have no costs whatsoever. The Centennial, who is the seller of this property, will incur all title costs, all recording costs, all land bank costs, the commission. I know there was a question about who pays the commission. The commission is paid directly from the proceeds, but instead of but they're gonna be paid from Centennial. So again, the town should have a 0, or it should have a 0 on that settlement sheet. It will come out of pocket, nothing for this transaction. The way that we set the purchase and sale agreement up is that it gets signed today, it gets submitted, and I think Tanner's actually agreed to drive it down and submit it directly to Chaffa. So we're ready to have it, hopefully we can get it signed. And then, but the way it's set up is to move relatively quickly. We get it signed, then we've got to wait for Chaffa, which I think Tanner said with the last meeting, maybe a couple weeks.
to get the documents. Before that, with a title review that I'm sure Mr. Dahl can complete. And then really, it's trying to get this closed as fast as possible. What's not in the purchase and sale agreement, but which we described at the last meeting is, you know, the two requirements for loan forgiveness. The first one is already met, and that is an approved development plan. The second one is permits and a loan, which COF basically already has. And so the idea would be is to get this closed and then turn around and get it forgiven as soon as possible. But in order, since the way CHAPA is set up and the way we have to do this program, we do have to have that ground lease. And so the way that we set the ground, I guess before I move to the ground lease, does anyone have any questions on the purchase and sale agreement?
I had a lot of questions on the purchase and sale agreement, but a lot of them, so there were a lot of conditions that survived termination of the agreement. What is that exactly?
Sure, that's a lot, because that's legalese.
Right.
So issues like indemnity. Let's say that COF has to indemnify the town for a misrepresentation. And this is a big what, there's no misrepresentations, but let's just say that occurs.
Mhm.
Under real property law, when the deed is recorded, basically the deed assumes all of the reps and warranties and supersedes them. So what attorneys do, like Mr. Dahl and myself, is we put in the contract that after the deed is recorded, this contract still survives with respect to the things that survive closing, like the reps and warranties. And so if there's one specifically you want to go through, I'm happy to talk about.
Well, this was mentioned in title objections, a CHAFA denial, the closing termination, and a buyer or seller default not being cured. So I didn't know why the reference to those conditions surviving termination would be, well, why would they survive termination?
Sure, what, if you could help, what?
Yeah, so if you go first of all to section 4C.
Okay.
So that's title objections. If the title objections are not cured, and it says kind of towards the end of that paragraph, that neither party, if everything terminates, neither party has an obligation except for those things.
That expressly survived termination.
That's right, and that goes back to what you're talking about
Correct.
then. Okay,
Correct. Correct. And I would say the reality, and then this is, I mean, this is a legal purchase and sale agreement. I mean, we tried to make it look, we want CHAPA to see a real
sure.
PSA, but the reality is this. If your town attorney sees a title objection on this property that he can't live with and that the town can't live with, this agreement's gonna terminate.
Right.
You're gonna make a title objection and we're not gonna close, and we're gonna have to rescind the application. I don't think that's the case because there's nothing on title that would prohibit this from going through, but let's say, for example, something does come up.
Right.
Then the reality, the practicality is you would terminate the agreement and not proceed with it. I don't think there's any title objections you would make.
Right.
That if we can't cure them, like here would be an example. Let's say, this is hypothetical. Let's say a lien gets put on the property. There's a $10,000 lien that gets put on real quick. Mr. Dahl will make a title objection that says you have to clear that lien. We would clear that. If we don't clear that lien, you don't close, we don't get CHAPA funding.
Right, no, and I understand that's, what would survive termination? Well, in that case,
No,
nothing would survive.
yeah,
Okay,
because you would
nothing-
terminate.
Exactly,
Because you would terminate the agreement.
okay.
Yeah,
So, but there are conditions that would survive termination in a legalistic manner, that's what it's.
correct.
Okay,
So the representations and warranties are really the things that would survive termination. And I really think that that's probably about it.
and what are those?
Well, so let's say, for example, there is a misrepresentation that COF could sell the property to. Or the COF is limited liability.
Yeah,
And again, we're talking in like the outer space of things that could possibly occur. But if that were to occur, then you could still enforce that representation and warranty against COF.
okay.
Now, of course, let's be practical also. You're gonna have a title insurance.
Right,
So your title insurance policy is gonna insure. So I would say this, I suppose if that language makes you uncomfortable, I'd be happy to strike.
I just wanted to understand it, and I'll leave that to Jerry as to whether or not it's strikeable. I just wanted to understand what did survive. The other question I had was about inspection deadline. I didn't see it defined. It's in section 4D2 is referenced as a definition of an inspection deadline, but I didn't see any definition of what the inspection deadline is.
Yes. No, I got it, yeah.
Yeah,
So the inspection deadline is defined on page 3, as it's through the CHAPA approvals. And
Okay, so
CHAPA
that's,
approval, so here's what I've got
Okay.
for you, ma'am.
Yep.
I'm giving you the ability to terminate this agreement all the way up until the CHAPA documents are finalized.
okay,
So if you don't like the restrictive covenant, let's say,
right,
and let's say the restrictive covenant says, and it's not gonna say this, but the town has no authority to do anything with respect to this property, you can say, okay, fine, we're terminating the agreement.
okay,
Cause what I've done in the real estate agreement is I've given you ways to terminate.
yes,
And
absolutely.
we have to have those. And it's, again, this is a weird agreement where it's not a traditional real estate purchase agreement. Where you, as the buyer, are gonna conduct a full-scale investigation of this property to make sure you can develop the property. You're not doing that.
Right,
You're just holding it for the CHAPA hold period.
right,
Yeah, so, so that's what I've done. So I've defined inspection. You can terminate for any or no reason, all the way until we have the CHAPA approvals, which are the date when we all approve the CHAPA documents.
oh, and everything is approved before that date. Oh, in other words, title's approved, the inspections have happened, everything has happened.
Yeah, I mean, that all kind of runs contemporaneous with this, but yes.
Yeah. And then the last thing I had, there were references in here to the purchase price being adjustable. It can be adjusted.
Correct.
How could it be adjusted?
So we would all have to agree on this, but let's, and I guess, to be honest, the reason when I wrote this, we didn't have our FMV. We have our FMV right now at $2.5 million.
Uh-huh,
But my thought was, let's say the FMV came back at $2.3 million.
Fair market value.
Yeah,
Okay.
oh, sorry, sorry.
yeah, no, that's
The
fine.
fair market value, then CHAPA's not gonna give us 2.5 million, they're gonna give us 2.3. So I wanted to create a very easy mechanism for us to be able to say, hey, we're gonna change the purchase price. Basically, we're gonna have to follow that FMV or that fair market value, which we got, was it yesterday or the day before? So we just got it, it's 2.5 million, so we can take those out if we want to. But again, I was writing this before we had. To be honest, we're trying to work as fast as possible.
Sure, no, I understand that, absolutely. I'm gonna leave it to Jerry's.
Yeah, so I wanted that to be just a part of it, is that we
Right.
could adjust it. Another thing that we put in here that might make no practical sense, but legal sense, has to do with if we have to do subdivision type work on the property.
Right.
I don't think we have to do that, but Jerry and I worked on that to create a provision, so if we do, at least we all know how to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And then on page 6, there's a lease and documents reference. It says the property is not subject to any lease. I'm assuming that means currently, because it is gonna be subject to the ground lease, right?
So
Okay.
once we close,
So that's an after,
then we have the ground. So what I'm representing to you is that when you buy the property,
there's no.
it's not gonna be subject to a lease to, Max and Tanner to do something that you would have to comply with.
Okay, very good. And then obviously taxes are paid by seller.
Taxes are paid by seller, I have it in here. So what'll happen is at closing, the title company, I think we're using land title, they'll call up the assessor and they'll say, give us what's called a tax certificate.
Right,
Those cost like $10 or $25, and they'll say taxes are, I'm making it up, $100, and we'll prorate it $1 a day, and
Right.
you have 291 days of the year that we're prorating through, and you pay that amount. And it'll be based on whatever the current assessment is. No, we pay.
the town,
we
that's
pay.
what I'm saying. Yeah, it doesn't fall in the
No,
town.
no, no, we take all costs.
Yeah.
Everything that. If it's not even included in here, there's $1 that is brought to Dennis that is part of this transaction, I pay. For.
You
Yeah,
pay.
that's what I mean, is at closing, the assessor will say, Kurt, you have $2,371 in taxes that have to be paid. So when the property is conveyed, it is clear of taxes.
Okay, and then, it references a 1031 exchange.
That, we can take that out, there's no that's just typical boilerplate real estate contract
Okay,
language.
because we're not doing a 1031 exchange, obviously, in this. And then what happens in a force majeure case? Like, I don't know what would happen, like, whatever.
Sure,
then it just we just terminate, obviously, right? If there's force majeure, or how does that affect it?
So let's say there is a force majeure case,
Yeah.
let's say, we'll give an example, like the title objections or the approvals, if those take longer.
Sure,
But it's because, let's say the government shuts down, screw the government, but it's like,
Well, let's not say
don't
that.
create a force majeure. But what would happen is, I mean, the typical way it would work is Jerry and I would talk, and we would most likely extend everything
okay,
day per day. Or if it's just impossible, it just terminates,
yeah,
and we just move.
Okay.
Hopefully, we're not gonna have any catastrophic events.
right, okay,
But that's just another kind of boilerplate contract term that gets put in. And it's really, if there's a deadline, it just gets pushed out for
Okay.
that force majeure. Or if it becomes impractical with the transaction anymore because of it.
yeah, or because we don't get chapter approval or whatever.
If you don't get job with approval, it automatically.
The whole
terminates.
thing's probably, you're
But-
right, doesn't go
Yeah,
forward.
but I mean,
Okay.
let's say the property floods
Yeah,
and then it
Right.
wouldn't make sense. We'll say, okay, well, we're pulling back.
I think those were all my questions on the PSA. Amanda, did you have some questions?
No, you covered a lot of the stuff I was concerned
Okay.
about.
It might be a good time to look at the
Map,
map, because that came up last time. Okay, what exactly, you know, is being acquired,
right,
and this whole business about where lot 6 is. Matt could probably articulate that to the board.
I'll be
It
happy
came up
to.
in an exchange of emails that I had with Mary Smith last evening. And so I think that's important to kind of cover that. It's kind of a policy call. I'm sure Kirk can probably do.
I'll be happy to, through all this, we've been working with Dennis to donate a significant amount of land
Yeah.
in Lakeview Flats. And all the green area is what is going to be donated to the city, as approved by this council. But it's going to be offered, to the town, which is, you know, the entire trail system that goes from the road all the way to the apartment complex and to the Argentine Street, all this Central Park, all the facilities, all the equipment that's gonna be installed is, will be all, donated to the city. Given that, we have lot 8, 9, which there's plenty of land for, green space, and we've complied completely with that. When you now sell just lot 8 and 9 by itself, it needs to be attached to green space. And so the one space that we have not designated to the town, but we will, after this transaction, is lot 6. And lot 6 provides us with the green space that's necessary so that 8 and 9 has all the zoning requirements needed to do a development. So with this lot 6, the lot 6 is everything below the red line. And so it actually is a strip across Argentine Street there. There is actually a strip of land, probably enough for parking or something like that. But the value of the property is basically zero. I talked to the appraiser, the value of that land was valued as parkland, because they knew that we were gonna put it as parkland, so they didn't put that in part of the appraisal. And so this is purely to just make it very clean. So if we do agree in the next month that the town is taking over these parks, that this property stands alone by itself. And it does have the green space, because clearly I wouldn't buy this if I didn't have the amount of land necessary to justify the 52 units that we're building.
Can I add, just because I think maybe the board, you know, needs to be. Their attention needs to be drawn to the map a little bit here. What you see on the map is the entire phase 1 and phase 2 of Lakeview Flats. That might not have been explained. The stuff that's on the left is built, that's the existing build. Phase 1 of Lakeview Flats, you see that up now, and that's not what, of course, was the subject of the purchase sale agreement and the ground lease. Then in the middle, there's that green proposed to be dedicated park area, right? Along the top, there's also more park, but of course, the donation is not in front of you today, that's information. On the right-hand side is the unbuilt, it shows buildings there, but they're not there. That's the phase two, that's where this affordable housing project would be built. So those are lots 8 and 9, they're gonna be subject to the purchase sale agreement and lease back. What Kurt's referring to is what amounts to your regularly shaped strip property all along the western side of the whole shooting match in between both phases and Argentine.
So it's everything below
Yes,
this red line.
Exactly right, below the red line, that oddly enough.
Yeah.
Is lot 6.
To the black dotted line.
To the, yeah, to the, basically to Argentine Street. That's lot 6, you would normally think a lot's gonna be a rectangle in this particular case. It's all that kind of, I'll call it leftover, but all of that property that serves on the edge. Kurt's main point, and then I'll shut up, but I just wanna make sure you were oriented here, because it is confusing.
And thanks to that.
And
My
Kurt's
problem
made
with
the
that-
point that's necessary as open space from a percentage standpoint with respect to phase 2. But I'm sure there's questions
I had a
around.
couple of
So I
questions
just
still.
said That's something too.
Yeah, I think Mary had a question. Mary, are you there?
Yeah, one of my main concerns is the majority of lot 6 is already in the existing phase and I don't understand why we're purchasing that when it exists for a different phase.
Sure, so let me try to explain, so. As you know, when you develop property, you have to have open space requirements. This town doesn't want properties built from lot line to lot line, you want open space. And so when we go to Chapa on this and we're saying, look, and you can see on this diagram, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 buildings. That will all be subject to their restrictions. Those 2 parcels have to meet an open space requirement, and if they don't, then you have to put that open space on those parcels. So instead of having 8 buildings, you might only have 6 buildings, because you have to include that open space. Once we package 6, 8, and 9 together, now we've met the open space requirement to do this phase 2. And the reason, and it is weird, I would think of lot 6, and maybe I'm wrong, I would think of lot 6 like a tree lawn. It's basically, you know what I'm talking about, is in the lot developments, right along the street, you've got a sidewalk, you've got an area for grass and trees. And granted, this does go throughout the entire development, but that's the way, and why it was plotted that way, I guess we'll never know, I wasn't a part of it, but that's what it was. So in order to have 9 and 8 have the capacity for these buildings, we believe it has to have lot 6 attached to it, so that you have the total square footage necessary for the density to build. And I know that's a mouthful, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
So the existing open space isn't enough?
Well, the existing open space is gonna be these parks that the town is going to.
Right.
So, and look, maybe we got a little bit of the chicken and the egg problem is, and this came up quickly. This whole Prop 1, 2, 3 stuff came up quickly. I've been working with Mr. Dahl on donation agreements for probably 2 months now. But those are going to be donated to the city, and they're gonna be city property and city owned land fit under the donation agreement and under the maintenance agreement, Centennial Opportunity Fund will then maintain. But I think look at it this way, if this were a third party transaction, let's say you're not the city and we were selling this to Georgetown Housing Development LLC, in order for that entity, the buyer, to put all these buildings on the property and to be guaranteed its open space requirement, it's gonna need lot 6. So we think, and so, I think it's the easiest way to put this all together and get this approved quickly in the time that we have.
And to Mary's point, we can easily use lot 7 or lot 3. Those are what we've tied into this donation. The donation will not happen if we can't get it done by the end of the year, because there's a lot of different tax changes that are going on. And so having lot 6 was by itself, it's easy to attach to 8 and 9. We have all the green space that the development needs,
but for this transaction, for a short period of time, it needs to be able to identify the green space so that it complies, so that it has 52 units that can be developed on this parcel.
So lot 6 was not part of phase 1.
It was part of phase 1. We're now taking it as the green space for the entire
Development,
development.
right.
I had a question, because
So
it looks
that-
like more than just
Oh,
the,
hang on one second. Okay, Mary, go ahead, and then we'll go to Rich, and then,
I got a question.
okay, go ahead, Mary.
So my concern is to prorate it then, so that we are not paying for the parcel of lot 6 that we're going to be given back. I just don't want to pay for land that's going to be given to us.
Well, can I answer that for Mary?
Sure. Go ahead, Dwayne.
Well, so Mary, I mean, the situation of this land, right, cost is the cost. I mean, theoretically, we'd still pay the same amount, whether it was only 8, 9, and I only say that for my 5 years being on planning commission and helping people that wanted to buy land for what they wanted to build. They just beat the code, so I mean, without it getting all complicated. Looking at this with adding 6 in on here, at the very least for the front for access, but they're exactly right, and what they need to be able to build, what they want, which is what we're agreeing to. It wouldn't make sense if they didn't add 6, 8, 9 to this. I get where you're going at, but theoretically, the price is what it is. And it's sure,
Almost.
yeah, it's just, this makes sense, and only because I've helped too many people develop areas where like, say a lot was only 4,000 square foot, so they buy 2 lots, which gives them 8,000 square foot, which they meet their 5,000 square foot minimum to actually build a residential house on. This falls under the same idea, so it's not like we can go, well, let's take 6 off and get the price for cheaper. This kind of has to be part of that, without it getting a hugely long discussion about our building code, et cetera.
Well, the appraiser also
Yeah.
valued lot 6 at 0. It is part.
So it doesn't
It's absolutely
matter.
0. It's not valuable.
Oh.
There's
Yeah.
nothing you can do to it.
But even if it
It's
was,
purely.
Yeah.
In the conversations Dennis and I have had about just this whole park situation, and we talked about. This area, and you know, it could be a great area for parking. Or
Well, and
event parking, or it could be whatever the town decides they want for that land.
I would be more concerned if this wasn't on here. But that helps.
I still have a couple of questions. One is, it looks like this right away jogs in, there's been some landscaping along there. And it also looks like there's a concrete pad being formed that might be part of that lot 6. I don't know if that's for dumpsters or
I
whatever.
think it's all on lot 5, that's for dumpsters.
Yeah, I'm just not sure exactly where that is and what would happen to that. Because then it's not open space. The other piece was, and I'm not sure how, if, lot 6, there's a issue with another development across the Argentine and with water and sewer. That us owning lot 6 doesn't affect that in any shape or form, or easement for that.
No, there's, I think, a pre-existing easement, and we'll show up on title when we see the title commitment. Pre-existing easement for service of water and sewer, you're right, to that kind of long isosceles, I don't get to say isosceles often.
I don't think I've heard that since the college.
It's nice to have, it's nice to have the excuse, but that's a, you know, underground water sewer easement, it'll likely show up on title. Whether, I would say this, whether it shows up on title or not, if it does, I wouldn't have a title objection to it, because it's a subsurface easement necessary.
And it wouldn't be any
Serve that
cost to
property.
the town
No, no.
when that gets put in or whatever.
Yeah, no, there's a separate agreement, that we negotiated with, between Kurt, the town and owners of that triangle, for the water and sewer service. The when, as, and if, probably all 3 of those things apply to the development of that triangle, but it wouldn't, be an obstacle, put it that way, to doing this transaction.
Okay, and then the lots 7 park agreement, that's gonna be done by the end of the year?
Should be, we're shooting for October. And we're also planning a work session for you all so that we can bring all of this back and
educate you on exactly all the intricacies of the trailway along the lake, the maintenance agreement that we're planning, the contribution that the HOA is gonna be contracted for, so that you can understand all of that before it's presented to you for approval. And this, just as an aside, to throw in my view on lot 6. It's always good in my view for the government to have as much right of way as you can along a major arterial or garden team. So when Kurt said, hey, would you like lot 6? I immediately said, yes. The use, you could say it's for parking, okay, we don't know that, but 10 years from now, if the town needs to expand Argentine and we already have that right of way there, good for us, great.
But this is part of the buyback, right? This would go back to Centennial?
But I'm,
For a
in
brief
the
time.
agreement's going to be a
Okay, we can do that.
instantaneous, it goes with the donation
Okay,
of all this other land.
okay, thank you.
Then the other question, and it's not on the, it's not with the lease agreement, I guess for you is like, the town ordinance requires that each building have some affordable housing in, and it's not all in one or two buildings. Is that still gonna be part of the agreement when we put, I know it's 70%, you only require 10%, but is 10% gonna be in all the buildings that we build?
We'll be compliant with the ordinance, but, to take a step back though, we're gonna have 36 affordable units.
I understand.
And so, yeah, I mean,
It's almost like,
there'll be three buildings that are completely just for this affordable housing program.
well, and to answer your question, typically there may be two deed restrictions, right? If Shasta says, here's our deed restriction, or companies, the recoverable grant agreement. It mandates that 70% of your units are affordable to households below 100% AMI. That's one deed restriction. And if the town requires that 10% of the units, and I don't know what income level or what ordinance is at.
128.
It's 120%.
Right, so you could record your deed restriction at the same time, right? Chapa's would be deeper than yours, so it would supersede it, but yours would also be recorded, right? So it would have to be compliant with both. And
Very
that,
good.
your
I mean,
ordinance,
that's what I wanted to hear.
yeah, exactly. And your ordinance deed restriction is not reflected in this PSA and ground lease structure, but by nature of the planning process, it will have to be recorded.
Well, and theoretically, I mean, 70% of an area, there's a lot more than what we could ever dream of.
Of course, it's just that you could, if you were a builder, say, okay, these two buildings, I'm gonna do a little better on than maybe the ones that are affordable housing.
Yeah, well, to answer your question, actually, it is an important distinction because Chaplin does not have that in their deed restriction, right? Their deed restriction will say 70% of your units are affordable. And they don't have any requirements to say those have to be evenly distributed amongst all of the buildings built. So there will have to be an alignment of the local ordinance and the Chaplin deed restriction.
The 10%, but it just guarantees that the time, we put a lot of time into that ordinance, and so that all the, you know, I refer to like section 8 folks aren't all in the same building, other folks in another building that might be a little nicer.
And you want all the units to be of equal quality.
People treated fairly.
Yeah.
Well, but truth too, but I mean, but what somebody's willing to pay for it too, I mean, if you have a Ford dealership and a Mercedes dealership next to each other. You know, I mean, you can't, I think we have to be careful of crossing that line, because we also have our code. You know, so I mean, if a builder meets code, if I put cabinets, I could spend 5,000 on cabinets, I could spend 50,000 on cabinets, right? Does that mean the place is better to live in or less better to live in? We have to be careful how we cross that line, I think, sometimes. Because too, like, as a builder, you can dictate by code what you should want me to build, but I think we should be careful about what products I put within that. You know, as long as it meets the code. We're huge on that in Georgetown for windows, whether it's solid wood windows or not. I can choose that, but that costs more. But it doesn't mean putting a lesser product in if it meets code, dictates the quality of that building.
I understand, but even housing,
that.
all the affordable housing folks in the, but you know, some of them will definitely be that way, but it still feels different.
This
If
is
you're-
overall quality.
True,
Yeah.
but I mean, but we also live in a place in Colorado now that is it fair to
I put all the hyacinth stuff possible, then we have no affordable because the person can't afford that.
Right.
So how do we get it there? As long as we meet code, you know, I mean, and as long as I have a place to live, does it mean it's different if I don't have gold on my walls?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, like, it's, we just have to be careful how we cross that and what we're really after.
And I want
Yeah.
to interject here, I'm sorry, I know that we have a time constraint, are you good, do you have any questions you want to ask before?
No, honestly, everyone has been very thorough. The concern I had was over the affordable,
Okay,
this 70%,
where are they gonna be
where they're gonna
located?
be located. That was a big concern. As with in regards to. No, actually, never, I think I'm okay. lot 6 still feels a little bit weird to me, but I understand the logistics of lot 6 and the fact it's basically zero. It hasn't, so, I respect that that's good for the town.
What does make it around actually.
Yeah.
In the intrinsic value is.
So it has a monetary value ascribed to it, I think that's what I meant to say.
Yeah. I was looking at some older maps, but this is good.
Also, our design has already been approved by the DRC, we're not going to vary these buildings, I will say. The exterior is what has been approved, but we may convert these to townhomes. Two-story townhomes as opposed to just a condominium complex, so that it actually will be nicer, in my view, than what we originally were thinking about.
Now, I do have questions from Alex Sassoon, for some reason he can't unmute himself, so I'll just ask those questions.
Yeah.
One is Denver has cut the Prop 123 funding. What happens in the event that Chapa is no longer in a position to close? Yes, the answer is the application terminates, but what then is Plan B by Kurt or the town?
Okay, this is a really great question. So Governor Polis yesterday issued an executive order. Essentially recommending budget changes for the next legislative sessions. Legislative session will convene, close March next year. And there's a really big budgetary deficit that the state has to deal with. One of the proposed solutions is by taking some Prop 123 money away. The good news is those changes wouldn't go into effect until next fiscal year, which would start July 2027. So the land banking funds in question are not at risk. And the other good news is the proposed reduction does not include any of the home ownership grants or subsidies. So we're still eligible for this land banking. These funds are still set aside for this project. And as a bonus, all the additional subsidies that this project would pursue, the additional grants, the low cost mortgages, everything else to try to get it as affordable as possible. None of those programs are being reallocated or reduced.
We're gonna be putting every effort possible to get these other subsidies into this program. One is the $84,000 subsidy. You know, these are really serious numbers, so if we get our unit down to 300, all of a sudden it's $210,000 for the original owner, purchasers. And currently, even with current rates, I think I've calculated, the mortgage payment with the HOA would be $700-800. So I mean, it's incredibly super affordable. And I think then we're gonna have to be talking about, do you do a lot? After we get all the pricing, we get everything figured out, we're gonna have to talk about how you, as a town, wanna distribute it, because I think they will be highly sought after if that's the price.
No, also that, he's got two other questions. Did you have anything?
No, I'm okay.
Okay, so the second one, on any closing, there's a cooling off period. So how long is that until the ink is dry and the deal is done? Is there a cooling off period?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I mean, if we sign the purchase and sale agreement today, we're under contract to sell and you're under contract to buy.
right.
But I guess maybe the cooling off period would be your rights to review title, to review the CHAPA documents, and if
Right.
those don't come in
Mhm.
adequate to you, then you would terminate the agreement. I mean, our hope is that you wouldn't do that unless there is something catastrophically wrong with title, which will be a catastrophically problem for us. And I don't think it exists because we're selling units and we look at title all
Sure.
the time. And the CHAPA documents, which I doubt are gonna be objectionable, but I suppose they could. But I don't think, again, I don't think the CHAPA documents are gonna say the town can't do anything.
Okay, very good, thank you.
But
Is that
yeah,
all his questions?
Yes,
He had a question about the.
About the water.
Capacity, but this project was already.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
in the,
Figured in.
yeah,
It was in our previous
Yes.
plans, yeah.
right. So I think we're good from Alex. Mary, did you have any other questions while we have you online?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, Rob?
Yeah.
Dwayne, any other questions?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, you're good?
Thank you.
Okay, good, all right, thank you very much. I think our questions on the PSA. Are answered.
so you want to talk, the ground lease, Arth. So the ground lease. And with the ground lease, again, there's holes in it that needs to be filled in for the dates and we don't have certain file numbers yet. We'll get those filled in. The idea is to get that form approved now. So that when we get to closing, Jerry or I are just filling in numbers. The way that I've structured the ground lease, especially from earlier this week's meeting, is I changed it from a 10-year term to a 3-year term. So that is going to require COF to meet that second milestone to get the loan forgiven or the grant forgiven within 3 years versus the 10 years. The program allows 10, but Kurt's agreed to do it in 3. The other part of the ground lease, I think that's just important to note, is that it is as we call it in real estate, a pure net lease, which means the tenant here, COF, pays for everything. The tenant has to maintain everything, they pay for everything, the city really has zero responsibility on this property during the term of the grounds. And so I know that an issue came up about taxes. I think Mary brought up a tax issue. And so, and Jerry, I agree with Jerry's response, but just for me to reiterate it for everyone, is that when the town owns the property, there's no taxes. But a ground lease is an interest in property. If you think about like a normal lease, this is not a normal lease. This is a ground lease actually gives the ground tenant like ownership rights in the property, but just for the time during the lease. And that is a taxable interest. Now, I don't know how it's taxed. I'm not a tax attorney, but it is something that can be taxed. Now, again, we're hoping to turn this around and have this forgiven ASAP. So hopefully there would be very little.
We
taxes there.
already have a $15 million line, so it's not like, that will be there.
Yeah, we're thinking this can get turned around quickly, so I think the tax issue will be negligible, but we understand things happen and maybe it takes longer. But I don't know, I mean, Jerry, I guess you'd have to educate us as to how the taxes would be assessed on a ground lease, but if there are taxes assessed on the ground lease, or when taxes are assessed on the ground lease, they will go to the ground lessee, not the ground lessor. So you won't have to worry about that. And I think those taxes are issued by Clear Creek County.
Yeah, the town is of course the ground lessor and we're tax exempt, of course. But it's an interesting question, and I know that the legislature has dealt with this over the years. Around people that have like concessionaires on public property. Right, concessionaires on private property, that's still a tax bill for that lot 1, block 2 of that private property, no problem. But concessionaires on public property in past years have flown under the radar, is right, public property is tax exempt, so no tax bill. But the legislature, we need to wait for a minute.
No, Alex just sent a question, I'm sorry to interrupt you, go ahead.
The legislature has plugged that hole over the years, and there's a statute that specifically says possessory interests on property that's otherwise not taxable, which is exactly what this would be, are still taxable. Now, if I'm a county assessor, I don't know how I assess that ground lease for the 2 or 3 years, however long it takes for that to get constructed, but it's accessible. It's accessible to the owner of the lease, and the owner of the lease would be Centennial during that period of time.
But unfortunately, it's not a money thing for us, and it's $4,000, so, for that section, so we're not talking about a huge amount of money.
Ready for questions?
I'm ready for questions.
Okay, Rich, did you have questions on the ground lease?
No.
Dwayne, no, of course I did. Only because there were some things I didn't understand.
Okay, let's
So-
go through it.
On page 2, 3B, lease year wasn't defined. I'm assuming obviously it's every, year in the lease term. So I was just wanting to confirm that.
No, that's correct.
Yeah, not a big deal. There was a little typo in A. This lease is intended to be a net lease, not an. It's like a little
Oh, yeah.
baby comment. I am assuming that in the insurance paragraph 8 on page 4, those amounts are standard and, Jerry for insurance, that's typical
Yes,
stuff.
I'm good with 1 million and 2 million.
Yeah, okay. And then under 13, page 5, the entire agreement. I'm wondering if the PSA should be attached as an exhibit to the,
Well, this is an exhibit to the
to the
PSA.
PSA, so they're linked that way.
That's what I think. I mean,
Okay.
really, I would say structurally, the PSA has to be first. Because
Right.
this isn't effective unless we close on the PSA.
Exactly, no, I understand. Okay, that was it.
So just the and to an A?
That's it.
Okay.
And then also, now, we have another question from, Alex, and let me ask this. Define everything that tenant buyer pays, is that both internal and external?
I don't know what that means, but I'll try to answer it this way.
Okay,
Under the ground lease, under section 3A. The tenant, COF, pays everything related to this property. So. If let's say there's grass and the grass needs to be mowed, Centennial pays for the grass to be mowed. If there's weeds on it and there's about to be like a fine for having too many weeds, Centennial pays for that. Centennial pays for the insurance, Centennial pays for the taxes, if any, Centennial pays everything.
so I'll just respond that way to him. He's trying to get here, he's stuck in traffic, so he's been texting me his questions.
I'll say that.
Which way is he going?
And he can't unmute himself, so I just
He's
said,
coming.
text me.
From,
Doesn't
Well, he was
everybody-
coming from Denver this time,
Is he?
so he was coming up this way. Anyway, so that's why he's texting me questions. because-
Yeah, no, I understood, yeah, and I know what internal and external means, I mean, obviously
Okay.
Centennial pays all its own internal fees and costs related to this. But when it comes to the property under this ground lease, again, pure net lease, absolute net lease means landlord pays nothing.
Okay, very good, thank you. Any other questions? Mary, any questions on the ground lease?
It looks like she's on mute,
She is.
I just see that red.
Is this for us to unmute her or for her to unmute herself?
I heard to unmute herself.
So Mary, if you can hear us, definitely let us know if you have any questions on the ground lease. Let me text her.
No, I've already had my questions answered, thanks, on the ground lease.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. And he just said internal, et cetera, of building and they pay everything as well, so yeah.
And
Okay,
again, nothing's gonna be built on this property
right,
until it's deeded back to Centennial, because once Centennial gets its loan. And Chapa forgives the land grant, then you convey the property back to Centennial, and then Centennial will start building. And you'll no longer have any ownership interest in lots 8 and 9. And then hopefully by that time, Mr. Dahl and I have the donation agreement completed that will include 7 and 6, and there's some other little portions of some other property.
okay, very good, thank you. Anything else? I think we are, so if you look at your special meeting agenda action item and discussion, there is a recommended motion. And I think. Let's see, Jerry, do we need to add as edited or?
PSA ground lease. Application PSA and ground lease in form approved by the town administrator and town attorney, so we're good.
So we're good.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna sign the ground lease now, am I understanding?
Fine, but it's
Approved.
approved.
And it'll be attached to the PSA.
Correct.
And the
Okay.
only edit that I saw on that was changing an AN to an A, which I'm happy to do and print, Or we can just leave it and Mr. Dahl and I can fix it.
However you need it to have it, because we want to make sure you get this today, correct? Because Tanner, you're gonna take it down there. Okay, so do I hear a motion?
So is the proper motion, I make a motion to approve the application PSA and ground lease and direct it to be signed?
It's right
here, it's right
Yeah. Which one right here? Oh,
There you go.
I move to authorize and direct the police judge to execute an application PSA ground lease and any necessary supporting documents for Proposition 123 loan funds in connection with the Lakeview Flats project phase 2, the farm approved by the town administrator and town attorney.
Thank you. Second,
I second it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Mary? Any opposed?
I vote aye.
Mary
You vote
votes
aye.
aye.
Okay, very good. Any opposed? Very good. Motion passes. Thank you so much, everyone, for answering our questions and taking all the time. We really appreciate it. And, let's see, Alex says aye. So we have a second and aye. Okay, so we are good. So thank you very much. Now,
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys taking no time, I'm sorry, but of course, you all set up, the previous meeting. And unfortunately, you'll have to see me again about the box soon, so.
well, we need to get this signed and.
We do, can I?
All right, very good, Alex. I've been holding up the phone and showing them what is happening
Can
here.
we talk about just the logistics of signing here?
Yes.
You'll need something signed yesterday for.
Correct. We'd like to get the application signed and the purchase and sale of this.
So with that in mind, we've got two very, I think, short agenda items. So I think probably the best thing, if no one objects, is hang around. We'll do these other two agenda items with the meeting can get adjourned, and then we can get into production mode. Is that?
I got one quick question. Do you need me to print out the application or do you have a copy?
We have so many pieces of paper.
I know.
I'm gonna go back here and I'll print out a copy of the application. And then the purchase and sale agreement doesn't have any edits too much.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a precaution to do that. Want to make sure you.
What?
Or is the rest,
Oh, okay.
but then everything is fine.
Well, you want us to just walk downstairs for your meetings?
There's still a public meeting.
Yeah, public meeting, it's good.
You can use my office if you want.
I just need to type up something.
Okay, yeah, use Dennis's office, that's probably actually. Easy.
I don't want to spread.
Okay, that's good.
I'm sorry? Yeah, we approved everything. Yeah, so if you, is it a quick question?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Kurt, I think that Alex would like to ask you a quick question.
What is your timeline for, assuming that we get this approval in the next 2-3 weeks, whatever? What is your timeline for actually commencement of construction and so on? And what might be the timeline in terms of completion?
Okay, we will start excavating immediately. We will be putting in the foundations. So I would say the foundations will be starting, somewhere like October. The boxing will start being manufactured in October, November. We probably won't receive those till December, January. We'll have two buildings that are coming in immediately, those will go, then we'll get the next three buildings. So the finish of the first two buildings should be, it'll take us, even on what we have out there, the first two buildings were completed by January, and we have the boxes arrived on site in August. So it's not, using modular, it really is a quick build. The infrastructure, a lot of the infrastructure is already set up in phase 2. And so I think, we're gonna be deeply working on it immediately.
Right. And how much is weather going to impact you?
The weather,
Yes.
since these are built, if we can find a couple days with, one without wind, and two, it's not snowing, we already talked to the crane company and everything. I said, we can do it throughout the winter, so just whenever you need us, let us know.
Right. And my last question, I'm sorry to be a little bit off pedantic, whatever. The designation type of building, I keep on hearing this word modular, I understand what modular is. You know, modular can be basically what I would define as being a caravan, you know, RV type things. Where does that impact any of the tenants and or purchasers getting mortgages?
Oh,
They have no problem whatsoever, and this is modular. There's not an issue, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, all approved modular construction, in fact, the state of Colorado is recommending modular construction, and for Proposition 123 here, it actually was a benefit for us to be modular construction.
I think if it wasn't modular construction, this project may not have been considered for funding. It's how much the state wants to support it, because they think it's the most cost effective way. It also has less construction waste, the quality control is strong and.
Controlled environment.
Yeah, definitely.
And then kind of to the board, there was, I'm not quite sure who it was asking the question that we had spent some considerable time putting together the requirements for affordable housing. It was you, wasn't it? For affordable housing. I didn't hear what the answer to that was in terms of, you know, splitting up buildings.
Basically, 70%, covered a majority of all that.
spread across the board.
I mean, it's so much more than our code versus, I guess if you're worried that you're gonna have, that you wanna have one affordable place per each unit versus the 70% that we get. But to answer the question too, like with you, Rich, the thing of it is like on these buildings, they have to be built to code, so it kind of helps answer your question, Alex.
Right.
Like, as long as it's built to code, the funding's there. This isn't like
Yeah.
buying an RV. You know, I mean, it has to be built to our code here, to Colorado code or whatnot. Moders, as much as I still love traditional framing, it's in a controlled environment. It's just as good, if not a better product. What goes into those theoretically by code nowadays? You're only looking at the bare minimum, what your flooring is, what your trim is, and what your cabinets are. Everything else is being built to code already covers that anyway.
And it's,
So I mean, they're all gonna be built pretty much the same.
Yeah, and we
Yeah,
actually,
You're not gonna change it.
what we do is we hire our own engineer. And they go and take pictures and they're at the site, the manufacturing site every day. And they make sure that it's all compliant with the architects and the engineers as well for outside that. But we have someone that we hire, we employ, that watches over it.
Yeah, and your local ordinance and affordable requirements stay in effect. The state's requirements do not supersede yours, so this project will have to comply with both state's affordable requirements and local governments.
Just out of curiosity, where have these modular homes constructed?
They, South Dakota.
Okay.
there you go, that works.
That figures.
Thank you
If
very
you
much.
thought, if you thought this was the place, this would be North
No way, this place is much windier. I grew up in Rapid City, lived in Keystone, so yeah, this is
Well, thank
a
you.
lot more snow.
Thank you. Glad you made it. We're happy to see you here. We've lost one, we gained you, so that's what happened. Okay, so back to our agenda for the day. And thank you, gentlemen. We'll proceed as discussed here. We have on our agenda, we have added to our agenda this resolution number 11 regarding the grant for the Colorado Board of Tourism. We approved it the other day in the Board of Selectmen meeting. So, and I will go ahead and sign it. And that's all we're looking for here, right? Dennis, is to just say,
No, at your agenda, you pushed this to this special meeting for final adoption because you had questions. The two questions were, is the $5,000 an annual thing for the next 3 years or 1 year? And I researched that, it's a 1 year thing. The grant has to be renewed every year. That's the answer to that one. And then Rich, you asked about benchmarks.
Yeah.
Because the grant has to be renewed every year, then that's the opportunity for the town to review its effectiveness before you say yes for the next year. So I'm also happy to report, Georgia signed a letter of commitment that was included in the grant application. Jess has submitted that. And once you adopt this resolution, that will be included in the grant package after it's signed today.
so. We're good?
On Tuesday, you continued your consideration of that resolution.
That's correct.
Today, that's why it's on today's agenda. So proper motion is to adopt resolution number 11.
I'll make that motion to approve or adopt resolution number 11, series 2025.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Mary,
I,
any opposed? Thank you, that we have adopted resolution number 11, and I will sign that.
Thanks for the follow.
And, okay, lastly is the consideration of action on litigation.
Yes, thank you. You received advice from myself and special counsel in the McHugh and Gaskins versus Town case previously on Tuesday during executive session. At this time, I am recommending that you appeal that decision of the district court judge from the August 25th order of the district court judge, and I form the motion that I would ask you to take to authorize myself and special counsel to do that. Would be us to move to direct counsel to the town to appeal the August 25th, 2025 order of the district court in the case of McHugh and Gaskins v. Town of Georgetown, case number 2024 CV 30038.
So,
Second,
I'm sorry, who was first?
Rich.
Rich, second, Wayne.
Robin, Dwayne,
Robin's great.
Robin, Rick.
Rich got it.
How's that country music?
Were you made the motion?
He made motion.
Okay, Rob. Okay, sorry.
Arno.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mary,
I,
any opposed? Very good. Thank you very much, Jerry.
Thank you.
Before we leave that issue, a number of you have contacted me and asked me to talk with Jerry about investigating some other issue related to that, and so I am going to meet with Jerry, and we will be researching that, and Jerry will report back to you on those findings.
Thank you.
thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions, topics for conversation?
I have a question for Jerry, but it should be off the record.
Your agenda is limited to, the agenda that was approved, including the, resolution 11, which was continued to today.
Yes,
So
very
you
good.
don't have the opportunity to sort of import
Anything
random
else?
other things as we usually do on a regular basis, but not today.
Thank you.
Got
All right.
that right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I got that one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned at 11:10 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. If you don't want your materials, I can recycle them, if you just leave them on the end of the